The following video will help you add cell phone power to your XR650L. When you're installing a phone on a motorcycle like this one, a dirt bike, always check your lock-to-lock clearance before you go out and ride, because you just might knock your phone off your handlebars, or you might damage the tank of your motorbike. The next thing is don't use a solid mount. Make sure you have a little flex in there, otherwise the vibration will kill your phone. I do like the RAM mounts. I've wired mine from my battery box up through the middle of the bike. There is no relay in here. I'm going to need a bar mount switch so I don't have constant power. Wiring this up with an automotive lighting relay is a really good idea. In this next segment, you'll see how I used a battery tender to hook up my cell phone to the front of the bike. You do have to be careful with certain USB hookups because certain phones will recognize them as devices, and you don't want that. You just want the phone to see it as power. You're going to see here that I drilled a hole and just sealed it in with silicone. These SAE plugs come in a variety of forms. Sometimes the wires are longer than others. Sometimes they have brightly colored plug ends. Here I just drilled a hole and used some silicone to plug the hole, and I've run the wire up to the front of the bike there where the suspension is. Now this is just strapped here for show. This was tucked underneath the frame and attached to the yellowing bundle of wires on the top of the airbox. This is a little tricky because the positive wire has to go over top of the extension that goes through the top of the airbox. And just remember, the way I have it shown here, the number plate won't go on. So if you leave it like this, it's not going to fit. And this is how I learn things. I try it and I put everything together and I find out it doesn't work and then I rethink it. These wires were just kind of bundled up in here, and then this battery box was closed over it. And because of that, this lower left-hand corner no longer seals, and that is a bit of a bummer. The key here is to figure out a way to get to the battery tender connector. And this whole configuration has two functions: to tend to the battery and power your phone. Just a quickie on wire ties. These commercial grade wire ties are okay. But the more they get exposed to UV radiation, the more brittle they get. Eventually in a year, they are like crackers. They just break apart. These are a little bit better. They have a UV label on them. What does that mean? That means that they're going to be a little bit better than those others. When you buy a bike used, you're always going to have electrical problems. So do your best to wrap up anything that you find that's kind of not quite right and get it done properly.